All right, everyone, Supreme Kami over here. So in this video, I want to quickly talk to you guys about what I think is going to be some good parts to just kind of get for your New Year exclusive part exchange tickets over here. So in order to get 5 of these tickets over here, so I have already used 3, but how you can secure yourself 5 tickets is if you guys just complete basically any 300 missions, that will allow you to sufficiently just clear out the mission tab events and then or the achievement, and then you should be able to get those 5 tickets. In terms of what kind of parts I think you should get, I think personally, before I be recommending anything, I would say if you guys want any part for for aesthetic build, just for cosmetic purposes, I think you guys are pretty much safe to just kind of pick up any part you guys would like. I think overall stat, portrait, or whatever EX skill that comes with doesn't really matter. I personally do feel like just picking up whatever part you guys would purely want is probably the best way you're gonna go about this. Because you do get 5 tickets, so I think the best case scenario is you can just kind of pick up, let's say let's say I don't have like the Phantom Gundam full set, like I could literally just pick up all 5 of these parts and say here you go. Because I think, to me personally, Phantom Gundam does look pretty fantastic with all those what is it, effects parts. So that is something I would personally pick if I wasn't really into like all those like different stats, portrait, and etc. Right? But be talking about like the technical side, what I think is going to be good for your overall build, for let's say you're shooting based specifically or you're melee centric. I think I can give you guys a little bit of like my own personal recommendation. But in terms of this overall roster, I think with these 5 tickets, I think the parts that you guys should be focusing on is definitely going to be any parts from, let's say, the 4 armor double zeta up until right here, because these right here are literally a list that we have not seen before, or that is something we can exchange from. Because if you guys do take a look, we were able to get this ticket right here, the 5-star part exchange ticket. From this roster that they're giving to us, they only stopped it, or they stopped it literally on Destiny Impulse. So basically what I'm trying to tell you guys is that basically any part that you can get from that ticket on this roster over here, I would say don't pick anything with the new 5 tickets, because like if you guys can pick something from here already, why would we use the 5 new tickets to get something you guys cannot get before? So so that's why I'll have to recommend you guys to just try not to pick up anything that pass right here. I will have to say that's just basically my own recommendation to you guys. But if you guys do want to pick up like the oldest, you guys can definitely do so. There's no stopping you guys, but I think picking up the newest part is definitely going to be pretty valued in a way. So but in terms of what I think is going to be good, so let me actually start things out by going over some, let's say, some melee centric stuff. I know that in terms of this roster, there's still something that is missing from the recently released banner that I think is going to make up like a majority of like what I think is going to be a good melee centric build. But I can definitely give you guys a good few ones over here. I think probably talked about this many times already. But just one more thing I want to note before proceeding on. There's currently not going to be any way to just kind of alter your part, except maybe you guys do have any of the L badges saved, for example. So right now, if you guys are going to get these part right now, it's more or less in the preparation of eventually we might be able to get some L badges some places. So at this point in time, there's just pretty much no way on getting, let's say, the double shield quantum arm L badges. So that is definitely going to be something you guys might have to wait. In terms of why I'm recommending the sheer quantum arm, because after alteration, it just gained another 40% trade boosting trade, so that's why it's gonna make up 80% afterward. That is if you have it at max level. So prior to that, you're still looking at 25%, which is already powerful. I would have to say that is like literally on a tier of like maxing out max out portrait for some of the older Sokai stuff. So this is definitely going to be a good arm that I want to recommend to you guys for any of you guys still want a good melee arm. So this is definitely going to be a good arm to be using. In terms of some subside viability, I think there's definitely a fairly good option. You guys can be looking at the big scale XE arm. I think that one is pretty good because I believe it does share one word tag, high mobility, so you can definitely get pro tag in there as well if you guys don't like either or right here. I think this word tag is definitely pretty good. High firepower and high mobility are definitely some timeless melee word tag, so pretty good overall. So that is definitely going to be something I'll recommend to you guys right there. But in terms of some of the other one, I don't think they're too spectacular from the Shia Quanta specifically, so that's why I'm not really gonna recommending them. I think basically what I'm recommending is this overall the 40% trade and plus or minus something that is definitely going to be worth picking up. Let's say if you guys do ever spot, let's say cooldown reduction type trade, I think those are pretty good to pick up, and then you guys just kind of throw it into right here to just kind of level up your portraits and all that. So that should be pretty good. So if you do have, let's say you do pick up any arm for a sample, you guys can definitely throw it in the growth hanger and just let it oven for like a good few weeks, and then they should be at a pretty high portrait level or EX skill level, so they will overall serve a better purpose for you guys out there. So moving up back to the roster, so 40% trade, the arm is definitely going to be a good option right there. So whoops, that's the wrong one. So some other one that I think is going to be good from the list is definitely the Giant Ultron head over here. This one specifically is extremely good because it is going to give you an infighter when you have infighter on. Job license, you do get a 40% power boost right there. But I do believe after alteration, this one does have a pretty negative bonus or effect onward. So let me do check that out real quick. Let me see. I think it should be somewhere around here, right here. So I believe this one you actually do take 20% shot damage to it. So like your shot damage dealt to you is going to increase by 20%. So I think a lot of people told me that they would rather get the Phantom head because I believe that one is literally the same thing. For example, the Phantom head is literally the same thing, but I believe it doesn't have that negative effects where you take 20% more shot damage. So I will have to say, if that is the case, I would feel like the Phantom head definitely easily win over Giant Ultron any time of the day. So but in terms of that, for the head part, 40% trade, I'll definitely recommend the Phantom or the Giant Ultron, no problem. Some other one that I will recommend is actually going to be the Jet Arch Gundam arm over here, because right now if you're looking at this, is not going to be anything too outvalued, but you know, upon alteration you are going to gain above EX skill effects up by 30%. So I think I talked about that trait a lot already. I do feel like that trait is an extremely valuable thing that I think a lot of people may overlook them. So I think that should be a pretty good option, but you know, until then we can get the L badges for it. That will make it 10 times more worth it. So I think for the time being, this is definitely going to be a part that you guys can definitely keep onto your wish list and maybe not focus on right now, because there's just no way of getting the L badge to alterate it for that amazing single portrait. But this is definitely going to be a part I will recommend you guys to all as well. But this one is going to be centric to the tech attribute only, so that may be a pretty big hindrance if you're talking about usability and just being able to use it in many builds, or let's say in your S attribute or as well as your P attribute. So but it's still pretty good in my opinion, so that's why I would recommend it to you guys. Just kind of give you guys a heads up on what I think can be good, and upon alteration it's gonna be a lot more better. The next one is definitely going to be the big scalp Justice leg over here, because this is obviously upon alteration, this one is going to be big scale, so it's going to be a beneficial to have a big scale that is going to be a 40% trait. So you know, in terms of the subslotting, you don't really have to too much worry about having like the exact word tag matching, because at the end of the day, subslotting to a big scale or so subbing to a big scale or using big scale as a sub, you still get a non-conditional 20% bonus. So this is gonna be good. So this one definitely gonna be on the roster as well in terms of what I think can be a good melee centric part. So other than that, what else do we have up here? I think we still have quite a few one over here. So, you know, this one over here definitely a good pickup in fighter. So second portrait, it's also gonna boost another 40% melee trait, or I believe it's just another 40% power boosting. I forget, is it exclusively melee or EX power boosting, but definitely a good solid option. I think the last thing to kind of recommend to you guys all is definitely going to be the Escalabius backpack. So upon alteration, yes, again, it's going to be another 40%. I believe this one is actually going to be a double melee power boosting, so that is going to be extremely good. The stat on this one is actually pretty high, so I will not really skip on this one, because this one is probably probably gonna be one of those melee parts that's gonna age really well, I will have to assume. So yeah, this is definitely gonna be a good part to kind of pick up. So yeah, all the other one I'm not recommending because they're only base 30% max trait, so they're starting out at only 17%, so they're missing literally 8% from level 1 comparison. These starts out at 17 while the other one is starting out at 25% already, so their innately is going to be a lot more powerful. So yeah, but I think that is ooh, forgot to mention this one too. In terms of this armor over here, I think the Escalabius head is definitely a good option upon alteration as well, because the head part after alteration does gain another buff EX skill effects up by 30%, but you're just not able to access that second portrait at this moment. So that's why this head right now, if you look at it pre-alteration, it's not going to be anything too spectacular because it's only boosting arm parts specifically, which I say, yeah, maybe not going to be the best option because it's only solely on the arm part. So but upon alteration, it does become a monster's head portrait right here. So that is definitely something I will say. I'll leave it to you guys' own discretions and all that. So other than that, that is going to be pretty much it in terms of the melee aspect. In terms of, let's say, the shooting base specifically, I don't think there's actually we're talking about the core of a shooting base build. I don't think there's actually something that I would say you must get. Because the one I was gonna recommend you guys is gonna be the GM Buster Sword over here. But I think the main problem with this one over here is the subslot viability, because this is gonna be on a twin rifle category. So if we're talking about subslot for big scale, I don't think right now we don't really have that option. So you are gonna be pretty much stuck with having a pretty bad subslot, stat. So that's why I do feel like right now it's not really the most suitable time. I know that I talked about the jet rifle for like the longest, and I think it's a pretty good, you can say our first iteration of a 40% trait. But if you're just not able to get a second copy, I don't think it's going to be that good. So you guys can definitely pick up 2 of the same copy and subslot itself to gain the most optimal stat. But I do recommend you guys trying to pick up at least 5 unique parts, so you guys can just kind of broaden out your build, no problem. But I guess in this point in time, I would not really recommend this one anymore. But this is definitely going to be a solid option if you guys are planning to go for any specific, shooting build. I think this is still a not bad option. But moving forward, we would definitely be getting, let's say, rifle category, getting like a 40% trade. I think those versions would be better, because subslot wise we do have a lot more big scale rifle option than twin rifle, for example. But that is definitely going to be a part. I'll give you guys like a honorable mention, if you will. In terms of what else is good, is actually going to be the full armor unicorn right here. I think the only suitable part that I think is pretty much good from the set is definitely going to be the leg. So upon alteration, obviously it does gain another what did you call it, like another 25% boosting. Level 1 is going to be 25 and then 40% at max. So this is definitely not going to be a bad part to pick up. But this leg, I will have to say, does need a I do feel like it's not that good already. This is because of the HP restriction can be a bothersome. If in any mission you are gonna take more than like that 10%, this trait completely drops. So it's not gonna be like the best thing in the world, but it's definitely something doable for the time being, I would have to say. If you guys are able to manage your health really good, I think this is still a not bad option to just kind of pick up. For example, the next part you just kind of recommend from the list is actually going to be these are going to be pretty much the same. It's going to be these two, because what I'm recommending is going to be the arm over here. I think the armor in this one is actually not that bad. This one is actually going to be giving you a shooting power boost by 40%, but in return you are going to take 20% more melee attacks. So that can be a problem if you are going to be taking some incoming melee hits. So it's either going to pick the hot scramble, or you're going to go ahead and pick up the hiding second form, because this one actually is going to give you a 40% trait. But this one does not really have that restriction at the moment, except the fact that you are bounded to high firepower. The word tag in this one is a little bit more satisfiable to me personally, because this one you're actually looking at a pretty good overall like shooting based tech specifically, so that's why this one is definitely not going to be a bad part. So it's going to be either or. It's either you want the high new second V, or the second form, or the hot scramble. Up next, to just kind of recommend freedom, huh? Was there any 40% trade? The only 40% trade is gonna be actually the melee weapon over here. So this weapon, I would say, really works really well for both a melee build and a shooting based build, because upon alteration, this one is actually going to be another EX skill power boosting. So you do really have one good, let's say, melee war checker there. So hypothetically, you can use it on a melee build, but in terms of trying to get rid of this, I do feel like that can be a big problem depending on how your build comes around. I've seen people actually do this and no problem. So this could be a good part to just kind of pick up, but do keep that in mind. Prior to alteration, is not going to gain that big skill property, so it may not be like the brightest part to be looking around, but this is definitely not going to be a bad option for you guys out there. So that is pretty much going to be it for the free room right there. Any of the other ones just to kind of notice actually going to be the double sky chest over here, because this one is actually going to be our next 40% trade that just kind of talk about. Extremely good word tag over here, high firepower and commander, definitely going to be one of your best combo together. So this is actually not going to be a bad torso part to be getting. So yeah, so that is basically what I would have to recommend. So I gone over this already. I think possibly you guys can definitely pick whichever part you guys want, but those are definitely going to be some part trade that I specifically want to say these are definitely going to be the best options to kind of get. In terms of EX skill, like, or yes, maybe asking which EX skill is better, I don't think there's any clear answer to which EX skill is actually better in terms of custom EX skill. I think the overall is going to do right around the same damage. I will have to say it's just really of a preference of like what kind of animation you guys kind of like. But in terms of how I would think is a good EX skill, is I would actually take a look at their effects and what they will actually give you. I think this one is actually a solid option. Just I'll use the freedom as a prime example over here. Not only is this one is going to be give you some attack boosting, some health recovery to your squad, and some speed. So I do consider these EX skill effects to be a pretty good one. So that is going to be something I would say is it good to pick up, or is it pretty good? I would say yes in this situation because of what kind of effects you're looking at. I believe the Freedom Blade also does the same thing, right? So this one, look, if you have to compare the two, like, you guys can definitely let me know which one would you pick, because like this one actually does not really give any additional effects besides the fact you are going to be getting a 30%, while the other one is only 20%. So I think the overall trade-off is definitely worth it, I will have to say. So yeah, so in terms of EX skill, so that is basically what I would have to say. But you guys can definitely ask me a question in terms of like if this EX skill is awakenable or not unawakenable. So what I mean by that is there are some typical EX skill that you guys can find on the roster that will actually transform. So let's say here's a prime example. So let's say I use this EX skill to XC repair 4. So if I use this EX skill, you go into Transcend, right? So that is called, so once you go into Transcend, you basically are in an awakening state. So if you are going to use another EX skill of that same caliber of awakenable, so I think the next best one to just kind of look at is actually going to be, do we have a unicorn down here? Or I'll use the Phantom. So right after you use the Transcend Ray, for example, if you are going to use the Phantom Backpack, this one is also an awakenable EX skill. So what that means is you're going to cancel out the Transcend, and then you're going to go into whatever this system is built into. So whatever the attack boosting, whatever of that is not going to transfer over to this one over here. So you're not really stacking the damage. So what I purely like in terms of running custom EX skill, I like one awakenable, so something like this, and then two non-awakenable, so I can just primarily stack all those attacks together. So some example of a let's say awakenable is actually, do we have anything down here? I believe the Freed or the Justice Backpack is a non-awakenable EX skill. So this is actually going to be a good way to just kind of chain in your attacks and just kind of roll in the buffs more and more. So with 3 EX skill, you use one awakenable and then use 2 non-awakenable. So that is how you can just kind of overall manage what kind of power you're doing and just how to output a lot more in general. So that is just pretty much what I have for you guys out there. Do let me know, do you guys just like the list? How do you guys feel about the part that I recommended? Are there some part that you guys may think can be beneficial to your build? I know overall I'm not really looking at every single parts because I don't think all the other one like is that you're not really missing that out. I think the most important thing is actually securing like that really good trait, because trait actually does allow you to do more damage. So that's why I think focusing on them specifically is going to be a pretty solid option, I would have to say. So with that being said, that is going to be pretty much it. So do let me know down in the comment section which kind of part are you guys planning to exchange and all that. I know that I don't really have time to just kind of go over every single part and just kind of say which one is good, which one is bad, and all that, and etc. Right? So that's why I say primarily focusing on the top list over here is definitely going to be a pretty good way to just kind of start building like some of your powerful builds and all that. But with that being said, that is going to be pretty much it, and I'll catch you guys all on the next one.